This is the old version. If you're seeing, that's October 2020. Because last year we ventured on this journey of trying to map out the ecosystem, the AI ecosystem in Croatia. Because you know what they're saying, if you don't know where you're going, you're not there yet, but you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. So that was kind of the idea behind it, to really see where we are, where we stand today, and where it is that we want to go. So already this version took months and months of trying to figure out who are all the players on the Croatian AI scene. So from the companies and startups that are dealing with it, from the traditional bigger institutions that are implementing AI, that are the early bird or early adopters, and of course the supporting ecosystem, so all the other institutions that are playing an important role in the AI scene. Of course, even then we were kind of aware that we probably missed many, and that is why we already said back then, this is something that's an ongoing project and it's continuous and it's going to be continuously updated. And this year, so this is from last year, let's not go that much into it. But this year we wanted to go even deeper, you know, to scratch the surface even more and to find out many more information about what is going on, what are the incomes of the companies, identifying the investments, what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities they're seeing. So I know that many have received a very lengthy questionnaire, and we do apologize about that, but you know, without it, we wouldn't be able to make all this happen. But before I go deeper, this was a project that lasted, and it's going to last even more. But now, the first version of analyzing all the incoming data was, it took almost, gosh, 4, 5, 6 months, like that. And I would like to ask you to give a big applause to Martina. Martina, please stand up. Because I seem to be taking all the glory by presenting this, but it is Martina who really did the heavy load and heavy lifting of trying to figure out who to contact, how to invite everyone, how to force them to actually fill the questionnaire and be persistent and sometimes, you know, boring enough. I know, because she had to remind me to do it several times. And then after that, you know, to really collect all that information, take it out, and make it into something that we're going to see today. So my little cheat sheet is here because there is a lot of things that we've seen. So, yes, of course, this is, again, possibility that not everyone is involved or included in the landscape. So please, if you see that someone is missing, do let them know to come and apply, because from now on, this landscape will be updated on a monthly basis. And to be fair, we've seen a lot of development and a lot of boom just in the past year. So last year we were able to identify almost 200 organizations in total that are involved in the ecosystem. And this year, altogether, over 330 actually. The startups that we identified that are AI startups last year, it was around 72 of them. And now we've managed to identify 115 startups. So once again, if you know another startup, please do let them know to contact us. As you can see now, the logos have become much smaller. And I don't know, maybe at some point they won't be able to fit in a screen. What do you think, Jan? So it is the popularly called logo graveyard, but we're not going to call it a graveyard. It's a very beautiful display of all the players. Because the total number of companies and startups has gone from almost 100 to over 180, so almost a double. And we've tried to kind of categorize them, again, on some principles, based on the industries that they're working in or involved in, or, of course, if that wasn't really possible because a lot of startups are maybe working across various industries, than to use kind of an AI tools or the type of data or technology that they're using. So it's not a fixed method, it's something that is evolving, and maybe next year we will have some other version, but this is as good as it was possible to do for now. We've identified also more companies as early adopters, so which is good. Of course, majority of them do come from the industries that are traditionally early adopters, so financial and telecommunications industries. But we do see some other industries that are, opening up that you wouldn't really think of as, when you think of AI, that you would think of those industries. And enablers and extended ecosystems, so a number of supporting institutions, as I would like to call them. So those that are in education, so academia, and in research, they're supporting the development of AI in Croatia. And that has also grown from almost 80 to over 120. And there is an increase of academic institutions that we've been able to identify. But also new incubators, accelerators, and also the VC funds. So we're also welcoming those because we need financing. And when we're talking about VC funds and investments, so the AI scene in the past year has generated over 3 billion kunas of revenues. And they've also managed to attract over 5 billion kunas of investments. Of course, predominantly the usual suspects that we know much about, so Infobip, Rimac, Agrevi, Photomat. But also lately we've seen a lot of news and, again, new companies that are also tracking investments, such as Robotic AI, so our last year's startup pitch winner, Memgraph, Barclio, and some others. We also wanted to see, where the startups are managing to find their first customers. And again, as it could be expected, because it's the industries that are the earliest adopters, it's again the IT sector, of course, telecommunications, finances, but also e-commerce as well. And when it comes for startups from Croatia, the majority of them start on the market of EU, which I dare say is also kind of expected. But then, there's this challenge of reaching out to the rest of the world and other markets such as the US or Asia. When it comes to, again, finding capital to finance the startup operations, the majority of it is still coming from local, but then, of course, with investments in VC funds coming from all over the world, that is also starting to change slowly. The majority of the capital comes from private capital, but of course, one of the challenges is to ensure investments from business angels at those earliest stages of development of a startup, and that is something that's also been recognized. And there is an initiative, as we know, from CISEX, CroAI, HUP, as well, to try to introduce tax breaks and tax reliefs to angel investors so that they would mitigate the risk of the investments, but also enable many more investments to many more startups, so we can maybe have even more unicorns than we have today. The connectivity with of course, with the global market is predominantly based on networking, which is also not surprising because that's one of the beauties from what I see of the IT scene in Croatia. It's very closely connected, and there are a lot of sharing of experiences and of contacts as well. Women founders and co-founders, again, it is a tad better than last year, okay, pursimove, but I do hope that next year we will have maybe, at least number 2 as the first digit. So again, where are my girls at? Come on. You can become co-founders and founders of AI startups, even if you don't have tech background, once again. I'm the living proof of that. But one amazing thing was this, that when it comes to teams, so the AI teams, majority of the companies have said that they do have women as integral part of their AI teams. So I'm very optimistic about that, and I do hope we'll see more of them as well. So the challenges, the biggest challenge, of course, is to find AI experts, but I dare say that's not just a local challenge, that's a global challenge, because there's a shortage of them in general. And okay, especially when they want to scale and they want to go abroad, to find also employees abroad. And again, something probably very surprising to you as well. So when someone's trying to find talent, again, predominant way of finding them is through networking. Word of mouth is very important. And then there are some other ways. This was a bit interesting to see. So the cooperation of startups with the academia is mostly and predominantly done through science or R&D projects, through some internships, or organizing events. But there is a lot of room for improvement because, as you can see, almost half of them are not collaborating with academia whatsoever. So I think we should try to figure out what's the underlying cause of that and how that can be fixed. Again, okay, Zagreb is the center of Croatia, so not very unexpected that majority of startups are located in Zagreb, but we are seeing many more other places popping up as, where startups are being organized and launched. So yeah, there has been quite an interesting development in the AI scene in the past year. There has been a sort of an AI boom that is very optimistic, and I really like to see that, and I hope again that we'll have even many, many more of them coming in the next year. And I dare say it's also a bit of a proof that the initiative of education about AI, so elements of AI, have also contributed to creation and acceptance of AI projects more, and initiatives such as what we've heard today, for example, AI Center in Lipik, where they're creating new startups and new experts in this field. So I really do hope that next year we will have such tiny logos that you won't be able to recognize any of them, because that would mean that our startup scene has really blossomed and that we're really getting some momentum, such as some other countries have experienced as well, such as Estonia, for example, with their first unicorn, Skype. We are seeing similar momentum on Croatian AI and startup scene in general with our unicorns. So let's keep the momentum going. Thank you.